Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have, well, it's a game that at the time of recording is a little bit old, happened I think at the beginning of this past month, which I mean is last month, that's the time that this goes up. And it was a practice game with me and MintJellyMan to prepare for the Adopt a Noob tourney on the Blitzwar community Discord, which I highly recommend you check that out. Blitzwar is of course a phenomenal player, and everyone over on the Discord is just really wonderful to play with, interact with, and learn from. So, we're doing our practice opening here, and we're going against two opponents, Kjork, the Lieutenant Colonel, and Brigadier General Cute Snack, also known as Orangina. So this is a really scary set of opponents, and it was one of those where, if you notice, we're starting at the 8-minute mark. The previous 7.5 minutes were spent with MintJellyMan sort of walking me through where he wanted me to go. You can see these are his pings, not mine, and mine is just over here. And he's really just, setting out the things that you need to have in this section in order to hold defensively. And we were working together in the middle. So I have a Kratal, I have a Tiger, double AMX-10 RC. The Tiger is going to run back a little bit from these Sokals just because the two of them will be able to probably kill him in the air. And there was no reason to take that engagement if the Kratal was right there. So you get one kill, and looking for a second, there it is. Off the Kratal, just paying for himself twice over right there in the early game. Of course, Sokals did get some nice engagements as well, so it's a bit of a mixed bag for us, but we have some good success here. It looks like the Red 4 team has sort of paradropped into Delta, which is pretty common from that side of the field because you sort of have to in order to be competitive for this section of town, and holding that section of town makes it very, very hard to push you out. So, not really sure, so it looks like Kjork might have had a bit of a misclick right there, BMD2K going up a bit too far, then pulling back into India. And we're just trying to sort of take advantage of that, so I have Commandos Para, Legion, more Legion, Reservists, Vabs, and if I can attack into this section of woods right here, great. But the KA-29TB is beautiful. I like this thing. For 5 more points, your rocket pods go down a little bit in HE value, I think. But you also get 4 volleys of 20, which means that the 29TB as a helicopter is wonderful at sustained infantry killing. So his monostroke here is going to walk up, get my Commandos Para spotted because I didn't turn off the tertiary, and then the 29TB is going to get the kill, and that's all he needs to do. They have also capped India and Charlie, so it looks like they started with a couple more command vehicles than we did, and we are losing right off the bat at a +4 tick, so 60 points a minute for our opponents. That's not going to be a very fast game, unless, well, it's not going to be a very long game unless we can do something about it. Speaking of, Corps Mariners from MintJellyMan moving up, some of the best infantry in the game for that sort of grind, but they need to get into a town block, a little bit of a just, I mean, you can see I think he actually stopped them, force-stopped them manually, because sometimes infantry pathing is just weird, and they won't actually hop into towns. But despite taking that whole beating, they're still going to do reasonably well against a Renegade A390, which are an equivalent cost unit. Of course, 35 points, 10 strength versus the Corps Mariners, 15. F-18C looks like, yep, guiding an Avia 28 in here from Cute Snack, and not sure where he's going with that bomb. Let's see. There it is, but he's flying over a Gepard. Yeah, that's going to be probably a dead plane. Yep, dead plane right there. And MintJellyMan is fighting like his life depends on it over an Alpha, which for right now it kind of does. I mean, if we lose Alpha as well, our opponents are going to go up to a +6. That's going to be just a horrible situation. And meanwhile, I'm gathering forces on this side. I need to get forward on the map. I need to do something more impactful than just sit back and watch my ally do all the fighting. So I'm also bringing in some resupply for the Kratal, just trying to make sure we have that tool here, but this is concerning. So the Red 4 player, if he can go through, snake through in this side, can kill the Kratal, can threaten Bravo. Even just, the Mi-17, if he took it and threw it right at our base, probably would get there reasonably quickly. My Tiger, by the way, nearly healed up and is going to be going forward in just a bit, as I have a 1390, Vavs, Commandos, Para, lots of stuff going in, and I like to attack in through the woods on this side, which, having said this now, if we end up playing against each other, well, I guess I gave away my game, but in India, I like pushing the left side woods, and the reason why is everyone expects you to go here. It ends up being a huge grind. People are trying to fight over the main highway, which is a really valuable line, right, to hold. But this section can be really hard to push the blue 4 side, our side, out of for red, and surprisingly so. So I highly recommend that you try it if you haven't already. And then on this side, we're just getting AMX-13, some AMX-1390s, trying to give some fire support to MintJellyMan in Alpha, as we do need to retake this zone as quickly as humanly possible and get it capped. Of course, there is a Fuchs that's headed up to Foxtrot that will stop the bleed just a bit, in fact, cut it in half. But this is a problem, so you can see my 10RC and the Flak Panzer Gepard A2 did see something in these woods, and the pings from me and MintJellyMan are just saying, hey, Let's not let them exploit this gap. Let's try and do something here. So my 10 RCs just sort of moving back, making sure that we have a gun, we have some recon, able to tell us what's going on that side. We'll see if it's enough. In the meantime, this is something. So BTR 90 is comparatively expensive. I wanted to get a shot on him with the Milan 2, but it looks like the Fuchs Milan's going to take that with, of course, the Milan F1. Don't always count on a hit from those. You won't always get them, and we don't there. So not great. But 2A5 is leading the way. I do also have some smoke just trying to block off his long-range tools, because you do often see some long-range ATGMs and stuff come out from there. Probably should have been smoking more directly on the 2A5. But he's also cutting off my visibility here, and this is an attack. So Kyorik's MTLBV is moving forward. 2A5 is going to have to hang back a little bit just to see if we can bust those boxes before they can get up and drop off any and all the infantry that they might have in them, get into this town, and make my life harder than it already is. On the other hand, I don't really know. I mean, this was a lot of Motostrelki that are just going to get killed in the open here, which, I mean, hey, it's not the most expensive thing, but it does help. And it's also distracting from my own engagement. So as BU got the first shot, that often does mean he's going to win. And what you saw right there, by the way, was a micro on the main gun. So he turned off the main gun after it fired in order to hit me with the ATGM, the Sphere ATGM, on the top of that tank, and it worked. So he got a very nice engagement, forced my 2A5 back. Very much unhappy about that. My 1390 got optical failure against discretion. So never underestimate these guys. They will annoy you exactly when you don't want to be annoyed. Meanwhile, on this side, the 13 VTTs are getting into the area, 1390s getting into the area. Krotal probably needs to push up as well to give cover, and MintJellyMan has done a wonderful job resecuring Alpha, even bringing a Leopard 2 up to cap it. So if we can manage this, yeah, our opponents are halfway to victory here at 256 points, but Alpha's resecured, and I don't intend to stop this push unless absolutely necessary. So the 1390 moving up again. Optical failure for 90 seconds, just, so rough. One after another problem with that guy. And we did manage to hold for right now, but BMPTs, BTRTs, this is what the USSR does. They get oodles and poodles of fire support and just beat you in the face with it until you're sad. So I really wasn't confident that I could hold this for all that much longer. ECR coming in, and there is a book M1 spotted, but yeah, not really the right angle. I could have tried to circle around again, but that really doesn't work against experienced players because they'll just turn off the gun on the radar anti-air, and now they have a second opportunity to hit you and a second opportunity to crit your plane. So it's really not what you want to be doing at all. Avia 28 coming in from Cute Snack, and another big push from Kyorik. So we see lots of cheap stuff, BTRs. These guys, I believe, are 10 points. Yeah, 10 points. They have a lot of guns on them too. I mean, we have a nice firing concave here with the Vabs. Should be able to take those guys out decently well, but he forced me to unload Legion 90 in the open, which is not what I wanted to do. My 2A5 is also coming around, trying to make sure that I have some sort of heavy gun to stop this whole deal. Now, at some point in this game, I think one of the two of them does disconnect, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't think it's happened quite yet, but we'll see. And that Podnos, this was clearly a shift command, that it ran out of ammunition and just decided to keep going forward. But you know, he hasn't let me get into the town here on the left side of India, well, from our perspective anyway. And he's very nearly into this town with VDV, with BMPTs. BMPTs going to be moving backward, and my Legion 90 just in time to forestall that bad eventuality. On the other hand, Reservists moving up, 10 RCs moving up, 1390s moving up, and Core Mariners sort of holding on this end as we're getting recon into Alpha, and we do cap Delta. So MintJellyMan getting us an advantage over on that side. It was kind of surreal. It was one of those where I was sitting there going, I'm going to be fighting against people who are way more skilled than I am. And if I can hold on by the skin of my teeth and help as directed by my own really skilled teammate, then we might be able to get something done. And so that was sort of the goal, was to be just useful enough to my ally to allow us both to just sort of work together well and be greater than the sum of at least the part that I'm contributing in. So I don't know, confidence is key in this sort of thing, but it's one thing to be confident, it's another not to recognize differences between players, and I think it is very fair to say that I am not the individual one-on-one match of either Kyorik or Cute Snack. So you can recognize it's an uphill battle, and then you can still want to go in and want to take it, and want to learn from that opportunity and get even better moving forward. And that was exactly what this was for, right? Because the Adopted Noob Tourney, the format of it, is one skilled player with one relatively newer player, and I'm the newer player compared to MintJellyMan and those guys, but it also means that our opponents generally won't have the combined individual skill, oh, geez, that makes a lot of sense, the individual skill of both of our opponents here. So if we can do well in this match, then we should be reasonably confident going into any sort of matchup in the Adopt a Noob tournament, just because here we have two very, very ferocious opponents, and basically the way the tourney format is made, there will always be one newer player like me in the tourney games. So Razvedka sneaking up on the side, they were roughly spotted, and this is something I didn't know about until relatively recently, but it's apparently pretty common, because if you can get infantry to the beach, you see that little bit of a hill there? That can block line of sight, and they can just walk right up the beach and then pop up over onto the ridge and spot everything near Foxtrot. So a little bit rude, but we are also going to be killing them with a Leopard 2A1, so that's good enough for right now. Also 1390s, 10 RCs moving forward. We're trying to clear out that backside of Delta to prevent them from getting a counter cap. Of course, at +1, we need to hold that +1 for a very long amount of time in order to make up for the 262 points. Basically, what is that? Almost 9 minutes at +2 to get that? Yeah, so we needed 18 minutes at +1 in a 29-minute game. We cannot allow the Red 4 team to countercap this section, or we'd have to make better progress on other portions of the map. And my push into India was relatively fully stopped, I suppose, not relatively even, just fully stopped. But we were able to prevent them from getting into Foxtrot. So a little bit of give and take there. A stalemate on this side was better than what I was hoping for at the beginning of the match, certainly, but my couple of tanks have been picked off, and with the artillery coming in, Delta is getting to be a bit of a challenging situation. So I'm going to fast forward just a bit here, as most of our offensive options did get taken out, and we need to rebuild just a bit before we can keep going in. You can also see VDB90 on that side, just fully pushing me out of the trees. That is the answer. I think, by the way, just a couple of shocks, a couple of Motostrelki, and sustained fighting on this side does eventually favor Red, just because it's closer to them, closer to their resupply, closer to their supporting elements as well. So we have some artillery coming in, and yeah, stun on the Krital. 2A5 is still calm, but I needed more resupply than I had. Always, always, always buy more resupply than you think, because then you'll have it when you don't think you'll need it, but you actually did. Side note, the Martyr 2s were spotted, and my ally, MintJellyMan, noticed that, and told me to attack here. So let's see if he was right on that. Actually, no. So this is, I guess, usually the spot, because this is a hidden section of trees. But the Spetsnaz Gru just pushed up as far as they could in this force, and it was enough to see my Martyr 2s in the woods. Not the Commandos Para, but the Martyr 2s. And that's 100 and... oh no, 60 points worth of IFVs right there. So, yeah, it was one of those where I was sitting there going, I don't think that can get spotted, can it? Yes, it can. What in the world is spotting it? And actually, yep, there's the second ping. So he says if it's not here, then it's probably here. So he was directing me where to go and how to handle that situation, which, if this happens to you, if you have stuff in this corner spotted and you're sitting there going, wait, but I hold the town, how is this possible? And there it is, yep, so Cute Snack had a disconnect. It's just, Red Dragon servers are not the best. It just is what it is. And I don't know what happened in India. Looks like just a reposition. Yeah, we still are +1, not +3. So now Kyork is fighting us 2v1. That's never a good position to be in this late in the game. Earlier on, sure, because you have double availability, you have double the income, you can really focus on one point with better coordination than two individuals can. And basically the way that I've won 2v1s before is you beat the crap out of one side at the very beginning and make him spend the rest of the game recovering. And then because you did that, you can really bully the other guy with more points per unit time than he can bring onto the field. So you basically take two one-on-one fights at advantage, and that's how you sort of want to take those fights. But this is very much not that, so I kind of felt bad for Kyork being left there on his own. But again, it's just Wargame servers. It's gonna happen. I've had matches before where I've been up 400 points to 0, and then all of a sudden, oh, disconnected, get yoinked right out of it. One time even on ranked. Very upsetting. Anyway, reservists moving forward, Panzergren moving back as they were relatively heavily damaged. I did want to leave something in though, that's why my Legion 90 are staying. Plus they do have longer standoff distance with the Erix missiles, and we're just going to be resupplying, healing up those Panzergren, and moving back in. Also, some Podnos were spotted, and that's my César, I think, firing. Yeah, that's the César in the back. Yeah. And I figured, if I can get a kill or two on these Podnos, they're not expensive exactly, they're 30 points each. But it will hopefully deny my opponent his mortars, which denies him smoke, denies him some protection there, as well as some tactical flexibility. You can see Delta has been countercapped though, and we need to win in one of these zones, because Kyork can basically sit here for the next X amount of time until the game time runs out, and if that's fine. He doesn't have to push us, he just has to hold. And that is the one thing that's helping his situation right now with, you know, double the micro on the other side of the field, which that's really the worst thing about getting 2v1 is, particularly on this map, it's such a huge map. People on team games tend to focus on one side or the other, and as a 1v1 ranked map, this can be really challenging too, because if you tunnel vision one side, you're going to get pushed on the other eventually. And it's just a really bad map to get 2v1, particularly in the late game. So my ally's Tiger moving forward, my own Gazelle just sort of here trying to fend some things off, and the Tornado ECR just trying to exploit that micro balance again. So I figured maybe this time he didn't have his radar AA micro properly, might be able to get a free kill. If nothing else, force him to buy something else, or weaken his anti-air net and do something about it. And this essentially was a longer lull than I remembered. Okay, Kjork coming out with artillery. Have to wonder what he's going for. Wow, jeez. That's a lot of HE damage. That was not cluster, that's just HE artillery. Yeah, I guess that's probably the Uragan. Yeah. Anyway. My reservists are getting forward, and this is going to be a push from me. So my reservists and the 13 BTTs, relatively cheap, 3 frontal armor on the 5-point boxes is some of the best value 5-pointers in the entire game. And just as MintJellyMan is moving up on this side, we're hopefully going to be applying pressure across the entire board, at least if we can do it without being stunned to hell and back by persistent artillery fire. And I mean, if they land, oh geez, I expected that to kill the Legion. Got surprised. Yeah. I don't know, I mean, it's hard to tell at this point if he's just telling us to stay away, trying to discourage attacks, or if this was prep for his own, because if you can stun everything, then your own attack is going to be generally more successful. It also means if you stun everything, your opponent's attack is going to be less successful, so really when you see artillery, it's one of those two options, but those are both of the options usually, unless they're just wasting time with it, which that does happen every once in a while, where your opponent's just trying to say, okay, let's keep the status quo, and I don't want to have to deal with anything here. So MintJellyMan is giving his attack marker, he's going in, that's where he's going to go, and if we can get everything... Oh geez, what was I even... Oh, look at this. Stunned, 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 endless artillery from Kjork on this side, and here we go. So the 2A1, 2A5, reservists, AMXs, getting a little bit out of order. So this is a new player mistake basically. That I'm making right here, which is my boxes are out in front of their infantry. Usually you want the infantry, particularly reservist, out in front, and they'll take damage, and then your fire support vehicles, even just the 13 BTTs, can get a nice rate of fire on things like the Spetsnaz Gru. Did pretty well. As it turns out here, I get a little bit lucky. 25T doesn't find his mark on anything too expensive, and we are chasing him down with KWS, supported by a Tornado ECR. Of course, it's also diving against a PU, so really a little bit risky there, but we were fending him back just a bit. In the meantime, double T80 on this side, just trying to knife fight in the woods with 65-point tanks. You don't really care too much if you lose these guys. Plus, I mean, 13 frontal armor, not exactly bad. But my Panzergrenadier 90 can handle that, so you can see their tertiary is off. Panzerfaust 3 is ready if the T80s get closer. Unfortunately, it is sacrificing some infantry killing power, and there's 2 groups of VDV here, which I hadn't expected. So I'm just trying to force path now my way through so I can get within range of the T80s. 1 shot, 1 hit. Swing and a miss there, and I'm splitting them just to try and keep them both from being stunned and impacted by that. And let's see, no kills. Man, that was disappointing. 25T coming in again. Krotal will be firing at him, along with, I mean, just both Krotals here. But 25T is armored, so there's only particular angles where it's going to be taking a lot of damage, and you can see he kind of shrugged that off, didn't really care. Is headed back. It's a plane that usually my opponents have theirs survive, but I don't. Over on the right-hand side, of course, not to miss this offensive as well, MintJellyMan is having much more success than I am. His Core Mariner and Panzergren getting up into the town, 2A5, ripping apart Kjork's side. Leftover units, I think, from Cutesnack as well, who was over on that side of the board a bit more than Kjork. And now, I mean, the 2A5 is here, the 2A1 is here. It's a heck of a risk, because the 2A5 dies to VDV in the woods pretty clearly and pretty immediately. Of course, I guess just taking some on the frontal armor will be okay for a bit, but not for forever. Yeah, 2 points of damage per. If the 2A1 hadn't been able to engage as well, that would be a little scary. And we got the stun, good. I was also trying to smoke to make sure that they couldn't have more VDV around this side, which is usually the angle that I also attack from. But we are losing some things. And here's the breakthrough that we need. So, jeez, AH64TD from Grape Jelly, 2A5NL, can handle all of these T80s and not even care. A little bit unfortunate about the Scredget, though, and it looks like, okay, there he is, he's done. And if we can countercap Charlie, that's the +2 that we need. We'll have the time that we need in order to do it. MLU coming in, and we are able to rip apart some of those units in the woods here, forcing a retreat from Kyork on that side as well. And this is just, it's way to numbers at this point, right? So I think, yeah, I mean, the reason we didn't push across here, I think, was just, we're already doing it in 2 different locations, and it would be better not to lose the central position. But it's also just more micro stress, and right now we were working out pretty well, so why do that to ourselves? Lots of stuff in these woods. There's a BU, that's actually 2 T-72 BUs, both 175 points, so just huge investment here. And seeing this, I was sitting there going, okay, yeah, let's not. I was thinking about attacking into that woods as well, and this is why I just, yeah, okay, that's fine. Gazelle Hot, though, gets a hit, got a kill. That wasn't a BU. What was that? Okay, just a cheap vehicle. I was hoping to get a side shot on the BU if I could with the Gazelle Hot, but I really like these guys. I think they're a little bit better than the Hot 2. Of course, for some reason, even though they have the same size, the regular Hot's more difficult to hit. Hidden stats, because Eugen... Yeah, there's a lot of hidden stats in this game. It really could be a little bit better, a little bit clearer, particularly for newer players who don't have, or haven't heard rather, yet all of the things that they have to watch out for that they didn't expect. By the way, after this game I got a lot of feedback from Grape Jelly, particularly about that offensive and how risky the 2A1 and 2A5 was. And you can do things sometimes that are bad ideas that work out, and the best quote that I've ever heard for this is, if something's dumb and it works, it's still dumb and you're lucky. Right? So it doesn't make it a good plan. And particularly of note were things like having the reservists unloaded later because they're very slow, and keeping them in front of the MX-13 BTTs, and then just having more support for the 2A5 the 2A1 than I did, because there's more VDV here. There could have been even more than there was, and had there been, I would not have been able to handle it basically at all. And that sort of different force composition, different amounts of coordination would have worked out a lot better. So PU from Kyork on this side, F-18C, says Cute Snack is also now controlled by Kyork, and I think he's just trying to shut down bombers and get a little bit more control over this side, as this is incredibly scary. 2A5NL, Core Mariner, 2A1, Nantra, MX Prees. These are just tripwire units, but they're trying to slow down, is my guess. They're trying to slow down the pace that reinforcements can come in, because there is a land reinforcing line right behind Golf. And yeah, double OSA. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's for the escorts and for the Tiger, things like that. Yeah, they're moving off to the side. Okay, good. Good. T80 UK spotted. Oh no, oh, is that from the KCT? Man, never underestimate the ability of recon infantry to spot things your opponent doesn't want you to see. Because that T80 UK is now spotted, we can go in and try and hit him. I have a KWS circling here, but that of course is just an air superiority fighter, doesn't have any sort of anti-tank utility. And I have to think at this point that part of our success is because Kyork is trying to deal with Grape JellyMan on the other side, so that is just one of those weight of numbers over time sort of things that wouldn't necessarily happen had this remained as it originally was, with one player on each side of the map, but I think I've hammered that point home pretty hard, so I'll knock it off. Super Entendant SCM, I like this guy for certain roles better than I even like the Peace Rhine. Of course, the Peace Rhine's very, very nice playing for 100 points, but for 20 more points you get way better ATGMs, with the exception that they're semi-active. But that can occasionally also have uses, because if you have 2 targets you can kill one then the other, because of course both missiles can't be in the air at the same time. One shot is a bit of a miss, second shot is a hit, down to 2 strength. Not really the kill that I was hoping for, but I mean, T80 UK is stunned, he's trying to get out, and we're just keeping him stunned as much as we can with mortars, while double KWS after 25T. Of course, those guys are 200 points, really valuable kill there, even if one of the KWSs is lost. He's actually turning on the seaplane as well, which is just beautiful. Not enough to get the kill. Looks like the Gepard that was around here is gone, unfortunately, probably because of the 24 MP, but Double Hawk Hios gets it, and I mean, I think this is going to be probably game. The Leopard 2 is in Charlie, that's +2. We have enough time, and I think Kyork does recognize that, and as soon as I start pushing into India, again, finally clearing out these woods as he was repositioning his heavier tanks, that is going to be game. So, well played to Kyork and Cute Snack, and many thanks to Grape JellyMan for being very patient with me, trying to teach me this game. and I really think I've gotten a lot better because of it. It's one of those things that you don't necessarily figure out in the moment, but you take a little bit of a break from playing 1v1 ranked, you go back into it, you have more or less success, and you sort of gauge from there. And I've definitely been having some nicer times in ranked than what I used to. I think it wasn't ranked, but it was public matches. I think I went one time on a 23 match losing streak over the course of about 2 weeks. That was soul crushing. So 4,384 kills, 2,915 losses. Does kind of explain what we saw there at the end, where it was just weight of numbers on both sides of the board. And some of the standout units are going to be, for me anyway, the Tiger, MI-17, and the Iroquois inside it, which is always very nice. Kratal right there at the opener, taking care of double Sokol. And, I don't know, I mean, I think most of the value we got was out of infantry and some cheaper units, because I really couldn't handle my opponent's super heavies pretty much the entire time. Cesar also did pretty well. Spetsnaz grew, double mortar, and well, actually triple mortar, double Telekar 84, and the MTLB Podnos. Very nice kills there. So that's going to be all I've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.